Guys, back with the FITAID Morning Show, and we promise you unbelievable guests, and we have them here. Christmas Abbott, always on our show. Love to have her here. But we have the most interesting man in the fitness space. You've probably seen him around. You're probably thinking, hey, I saw that guy on the Rocks page. Who the hell is he? Well, we're going to tell you who he is right now, Mr. Tait Fletcher. Tait, you have the most interesting story. I got to chat with you a little bit last year here. And then you wind up on the Rocks page. A buddy of mine sent to me, he's like, yo, the Rock's friends with a real pirate. And I go, I know that dude. Tell us a little bit about what you got going on right now.
Yeah, it was just on Dwayne's page. I was as surprised as anybody. It was great, man. And everything everybody says about Dwayne is, I was in awe. Like, because you hear everybody gasses everybody up, you know? And everything that you hear about Dwayne's humility, about his kindness, about his work ethic, it shows up everywhere. I spent 3 weeks with him, and he's a guy that gives everybody the credit and takes none of it.
Yeah.
And he takes all the blame. If there's anything that goes wrong, he takes it upon himself to make it better. And he never points a finger. And he's one of those guys. I think of Jason Khalipa like this too. There's few people in the fucking world that you look at and you're like, I'd like to emulate that person's integrity, value, honor.
Absolutely.
And just the way those guys walk, man. There's stuff that you look and you're like, that could make me a little better today if I shot a little higher.
Exactly.
And he's definitely one of those guys. And I was just fortunate to be in a position where I got to be in a performance with him. I mean, it was fantastic. And it was for a film, Jumanji, that he's doing, he and Kevin
And now,
Hart.
what were you doing on the set of Jumanji? What's your role?
I was like, he goes, without giving a whole bunch away, he goes into like a video game aspect, and then there's a bunch of bad guys that he kind of works his way through. It's a really cool storyline. The movie is going to be really a lot of fun to watch.
I want to know how quickly you get killed in this movie, because
I never know how the editing is. You know what's funny? I did this Jean-Claude Van Damme deal, and then the guy that wrote it, he writes me and he says, hey, I need a list of all the things you've been killed in. I'm like, this is gonna be horrible. Like, whatever they do to me there is gonna be awful.
Everyone.
Yeah.
But I really loved you in Westworld.
I may even live in Jumanji. Who knows?
Maybe you make it to the end.
Right.
I think you might actually be the hero.
I have no idea. Yeah, right. That's how I edit it for my reel.
I would love to see that. I want to see a movie where you're just the hero slaying and playing all day.
You know, go ahead.
I'm surprised Disney hasn't contacted you yet.
I was on a Disney show.
What were you on?
I was on a show called Jesse, and it was the best job I ever had. Jesse's for like little 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, but it's the best show I've ever had because no kids feel like weird or uncomfortable when they see me. Their parents are like, oh my God, right? And so like you see little kids and they see me on the show and they're like, and they go fucking crazy. They go bananas. And to have that adoration from like those, it was amazing.
Yeah.
And then friends of mine I hadn't seen in a long time when that show came out, their babies would be standing there looking and we'd catch up, and then they go ahead and ask him. They go, oh my God, were you on Jesse? And it's just, that's an amazing feeling. It's the best, man.
I would have pictured more like one of the villains on Pirates of the Caribbean. It would have been awesome.
Not yet.
Like, I could see you hanging out with Jack
Vikings.
Sparrow.
What's up with Vikings? Yeah. They don't have their shit together at all. No. Game of Thrones. Can we make that work?
Game of Thrones would be really
somebody?
Cool.
Call.
I love that show. So wait, how'd you get involved in the whole movie industry?
I don't know. It's like a magic
just
trick.
happened.
It's weird. I think about it all the time. I can tell you how to be a fighter in the UFC easier than I can tell you a path on how to be a performer in films. It's just it's a weird deal, and I got involved through martial. Well, actually, it's not true. I got a SAG card in 2000. I was working at a nightclub. I was managing security at a bunch of places. They called me up to the front. These dudes are up there. They go, hey, we need some big dudes for this film that we're doing. And it was Master P. And Master P from No Limit Records back in the day in Louisiana. He was doing films all over. And so that's how I got a SAG card. I worked for a month on that.
And
I just started fighting at the same time. I was doing stick fights and a lot of grappling tournaments. And I was like, that seems unrealistic. Like the guys, they go, hey man, come, I got an extra place in LA. And this guy, Keith Willard, that gave me a SAG card and I worked for him on Equalizer 10 years later. He didn't remember at all that whole part of my life. But I went on and I had this whole career in this whole other thing because that seemed, fighting and working at the nightclub seemed more realistic than like, you're gonna be in movies. I was like, yeah, right, you know, like, So anyway.
It's so interesting, though, because when we got to chat last year, you were telling me you have a background in fighting, then you're in the CrossFit world. You got an unbelievable coffee company. I mean, did you ever see it all? I mean, from working in a nightclub back in 2000, did you ever see it evolving into this?
It's a whole, boy, that's divulging a lot. There's such a,
Go ahead.
you know, there's you know, I grew, I had a very colorful history.
Yeah.
I'll say, you know, and guys, when my life started to turn and change and I go, I can't live like this anymore. Dudes were like, write down what your dreams are, your craziest, wildest dreams. And I go, listen, I got an imagination, man. Like fucking, like that's, and really truly to like be able to be a part of the life that I'm in. And really like in this space particularly, everywhere in my life, it's like, you know, connections and community, like how we commune with people is the most important thing for me.
Yeah.
Regardless of everything else, it's like it all comes back to that and like, and the connected unity that we all have. And what I love about this space in particular in the CrossFit world and fitness world is that people are here for a common goal and you get to see friends of yours and they spring up with companies and ideas and inspirations that kind of transmute a whole community. Like whenever we go back to our respective homes, they see the changes in our lives and then people go, that beautiful magical moment where they go, you know, maybe me too. Maybe I could be a little different too.
Yeah.
And it raises the standard for communities up. And that, you know, when people talk about I want to change the world, it's like I get to see it happening around me all the time. And for a long time I felt impotent or powerless to be able to be a part of anything good or a change or anything. And that was just me in my own way. And so I'm real grateful every day for it, you know?
Yeah. It's so cool because, you know, just what you said about The Rock is kind of what I see in you. It's like you're very helpful and you're friendly, and I think that goes so much further. It's especially when you have an admiration for somebody, you see how well they do just from being nice. My grandmother always used to say you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. So always be a little bit sweeter to people. But it's cool to see what you got. Where'd Caveman start from?
Well, Caveman Coffee came out. Me and my partners, Keith Jardine, Lacey Mackey. Keith and I have a history. We were fight partners, like training partners for years out of Jackson's MMA in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And we started on like amateur grappling circuits together, and we've known each other a long time. And then I stopped fighting. I don't know if I stopped before him or not. He still says he's not retired, but he's totally retired. Although also, and that's a hard thing too, walking away from that life, because I'll say this, like I know like the guys that train, like he's more talented and more able and would beat the brakes off anybody that's holding a belt at any weight right now. Like, yeah. And he just doesn't stop, and he's the hardest worker I know. I admire him a lot, like as a coach, as a friend, as a real brother in my life. And I know guys that hold those straps right now. This is a tangent like crazy, but that won't train with Keith a few weeks out from their fight, and that can be quoted going, I don't want to fuck my confidence up, dude. No, I don't want any rounds with you. Just training. I don't want any rounds with you.
We might have
He's
to get
that
him
good,
on
right? So for him to not compete anymore, I understand what it's like to walk away from that, because you're like, who are you now? Like you were this thing, right? Now who are you? And that's a scary place, and the ego of a man doesn't really want him to go into that spot very well. Anyway, at the time I left, you get superstitious about cutting weight and being at a certain weight and all that, and so you do it in a certain way, and we started talking about nutrition, and my life opened up kind of about nutrition, and I started talking to Keith a lot about it, because Keith tried to fight at 85 at one point. All his blood levels went to shit. He didn't have any energy. He was doing a real carbohydrate-rich diet that for his body didn't speak well to that, and I was fucking around with a lot of fats and really changing things, and I was maybe the leanest I'd ever been. Like I felt like I was on a movie called Two Guns, and I started fucking with coconut oil in my coffee and doing that whole thing. And I at that time I was on a bunch of podcasts and shows, and I reached out to Dave Asprey and Bulletproof Coffee, and because he was kind of like, nobody knew him. And I blew him up, man. I wouldn't stop talking about his shit everywhere. He hates me today, however, but I admire what the guy has done and all that. So that's kind of, And then I was talking to Rob Wolf a lot. He started talking about things a lot, and he's been a good friend of ours. And I wanted to like this. I wanted to breed a healthier community, and so that conversation got bigger. Keith and I did nutrition talks, and then we met these guys that were not exiles, but they'd had a lot of kidnapping attempts on them in Colombia. They lived in Albuquerque. Keith met them at a roaster. Keith and I were on this movie called Transcendence, which should have been awesome but sucked. And then we met these roasters, and we started a coffee company kind of by accident. And Lacey was working for the biggest action star that exists. I don't think I can say his name, even though it seems silly, but it's weird. That's a job, like being a personal trainer.
I kind of get an idea. Yeah.
Being a personal trainer for that kind of shit is like weird because they go, anytime your name comes up in association with me, we'll sue you for $250,000, and you sign all this crazy shit. So the thing that you're doing that consumes your whole life, and you're making this person, you can't say that you're involved with them. It's a weird ego-driven business.
I can only
whatever.
imagine.
But so we had a little time. Lacey and I started a coffee truck outside of Brick, Los Angeles, for an event they did. And then that grew. I mean, it's a boring story, but like that's kind of how it started. It started out of nutrition, and it started the idea about, like, you know, you see hashtags all over my stuff of pirate life, and like, you know, to me, I feel like that's a verb, like pirate your life back. Like, if it comes on a Cisco truck, it's probably not good for you. I was really shocked. Like, there's a super popular energy drink that is in this space, and I was like, these are the people that are speaking to excellence on the highest form, and like really you have a responsibility to that. Like, here's people that are craving something better, and I'm like, and you have cancer in your beverage. We know that the sweeteners you use are carcinogenous. Why would you do that? And I asked I'm an idiot, I don't know anything, and so I asked the question on a public forum, and I got a little bit of a blowback for that, but like, the question stands, man, and in that regard, I go, I want to talk about exposing what is, and especially with sugars and with things like that. Like, we have a highly diabetic country. We have a bunch of people that feel impotent for their choices. We eat ourselves into ill health, and you can take your life back, but you have to be educated about what you eat and where you eat. Yeah. People are like, well, I have to eat out all the time. And I go, you sorry little bitch, make an excuse for your life. I eat out more than anybody I know. The only thing I make in my house is fucking coffee. Like, I'm on the road all fucking year long, and you can make choices. You just have to educate yourself. And so that's kind of was the vein that our company grew within, was how can you optimize your life and really pirate your life back from, you're on a road. If you're born in America, you're on a road to being a bitch to a pharmaceutical company. So have a lot of fun with that, unless you want to get some knowledge and education.
Society's kind of
so sorry for that long rant, you guys. No, I mean, really.
We appreciate it. We didn't even have to pay for that plug either. Jackie, what did you want to chat?
What I want to know is, have you gotten any blowback? Like, now carbs are in, and people are putting fear back into fat. So now my nutrition is like 300 grams of carbs, 40 fat. And I'm like, whoa, I love paleo. I was my happiest, my leanest. I felt the best when I did it. But now people make me feel like shit because that's what I responded well to. So I feel like people are now scared of fat again. Or is there blowback on that in the coffee?
I just want to go ahead and piggyback real fast. It's like, it's not okay to make your carbs wine, people, at the end of the night. You get home, you should not be drinking your carbs, especially if it's an alcoholic content. Why do we think that this is okay? Just because we want more carbs, we're separating it, we're not allowing the food to work the way that it should, because it is a fucking drug. It is a drug for your body. It affects every part of your life. And if you do not educate yourself and embrace at least a little bit, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be consistent. And as soon as you start getting away from there and allowing one new trend to determine when you take your carbs or your fat or your protein and it's separated and you're drinking your carbohydrates, you have a major issue.
I love that you said that. Like, one of the most powerful phrases I heard was that food is maybe the most powerful drug that most people will ever take, and they never even think about it. And to really think about, am I being empowered and nourished, or am I eating reflexively, or am I covering a feeling? And I'll tell you, if I eat carbohydrates in the morning, for me, if I have a bagel, like the guy goes, I have a bagel, orange juice, oatmeal. Well, that's it's an indiscriminate vat of acid in my stomach. And so I've had sugar with a side of sugar and a glass of sugar, basically. And that demands, that's not, if you run that way, rad. But, hyperinsulinemia and all those things are possible in that. If I'm running off blood glucose, I get hyperinsulemic. I remember in training and wrestling sessions, we'd have to drink sugar water. I think the thing we had at the time was called Endurox, but Gatorade, any of those things speak to that kind of thing, because otherwise you'll what they call bonk, which seems silly as fuck. Like, get a real word. However, that whole aspect, when you ask the question, right now I've been I redo my diet a lot, and like if I go ketogenic, which I feel the best about, and I do that for more than 5 months. I have at a certain point, your body is dying to be in homeostasis, and it wants to be balanced. And if you create any imbalances and try to push your body, like, here's a fucking newsflash: your body doesn't want to have six-pack. That's something that you have to work for, and that goes outside of nature, if you will. Your body naturally isn't built to be super lean like that, but that's a look that we all aspire towards, and so you have to play around with your macronutrients in that way. And I would say, like, you are an educated woman, and when you look towards that, and you're kind of on the tip of the spear, like you guys are, of nutrition, it's like not every day is going to be yesterday, and so. My hormones change, everything changes in my body if I go ketogenic for long enough. And so I eat on feel a lot. Now, to say that to me of 10 years ago would mean I would have pizza and potato chips all the time. And so that's not what I mean, but I mean after you become adept at your body and what it takes to nourish yourself under high pressure situations that you're in for elongated periods, such as CrossFit workouts or fight training or whatever that is, you get to listen in there a little bit, and sometimes you need more carbs after you work out or this or that. Rob Wolf speaks about it a lot on his podcast and all that, and I think that anybody that's saying that is letting the tail wag the dog, as it were, by saying, well, now I saw this on a t-shirt, I go, I'm sorry you're so dumb. You know what I mean? I'm sorry that you're forming your life off a t-shirt excerpt. Like, that seems a little silly to me. And so I always say all I did, I don't know anything. I know that how my body reacted when I stopped from a certain diet when I was fighting and then I go, I'm going to adopt paleo, and I'm going to do it fully 100% for 30 days or 40 days. And then I'm going to adopt ketogen. And I started doing that with these different diets. I even did zone diet. I did like everything because I go, how does it speak to me? And if we only read books or t-shirts, as it were, then in that way, all we have is palaver. You just have fucking yap. And you're a fucking twat if that's your life. Like, I'm sorry, man, but like, we can do better. And if you're not trying to do better, why are you even in a conversation? Because there's people that are trying, and those people I love to listen to. Everybody asks, like, who's your favorite philosopher? And I got to go back to like Marcus Aurelius or something, or to my coach Greg Jackson, or somebody that's in movement, that's put ideas, values, and integrity into fucking motion, man. Like, and if you're not into motion, great, you're on an armchair, you're a little drunk at night, and you have an idea. Fuck your opinion, it doesn't count, because you have to put it to where it stands up under pressure.
Well, I always say, and people are like, well, you're a coach, you should be more sympathetic. I go, listen, I'm sympathetic when it comes to people who are trying to be better.
Absolutely.
If you're making progress, awesome, I'm behind you 110%. Yep. But if you're gonna say, I just give up, I don't want to be any better, I don't want to try to lose weight, I don't want to try to do anything, then I have no sympathy for you.
You're
agree,
just
man. A big fucking waste.
And that becomes another part of like my whole mantra is I need you to try.
Yeah.
I need it because I believe we can all win. I need you to win too. Yeah. If you don't win, conversely, I can't win. Yeah. I need everybody to do better.
I think that most people that are struggling with nutrition are usually either new to the fitness industry, maybe they're not new to the fitness industry, but they're new to adjustment in their nutrition lifestyle. And they think that they can just ask somebody and it's going to apply to them. One size does not fit all. And one thing does not work for you as it does for somebody else. So I can't go eat what Matt Frazier eats on a daily basis because I have a different training regimen. I have a different stress level in my life. I have a different lifestyle. I have a different goal.
And a different gender. That's got to speak to it.
And different tolerances for different foods and nutritions and hormones. So, and sorry, ladies, we cannot eat the same thing as men because we do have a different hormonal balance that we have to take in consideration. And I get so frustrated that people, they go around and ask 5 different people, get 5 different answers, and they're like, I don't know what to do. Nothing works. And I'm like, because you haven't fucking tried.
And that's the
you
biggest thing.
You haven't stuck to it for 30 days. Yeah, nothing works. Well, because you're sticking to it for the first part of the day, and then you're going home drinking a bottle of fucking wine, and then you wake up feeling like shit, feeling depressed, feling unbalanced and emotional, and then you're like, I failed. Set up a plan of action, get support, educate yourself, and apply it. And if it doesn't work after 30 days, I love this because I did the same thing as you. I was my own guinea pig.
Right.
And I wrote down what worked and I wrote down what didn't work. And that's how I was able to formulate my badass body plan. And I said, look, one size does not fit all, and it's not going to fit you. What you find now is not going to fit you in 5 years or 10 years or even a month, depending on your lifestyle changes and what you are growing and adjusting, because your body is fluid. It will always be changing. Time is not nice.
Right. It's an ongoing conversation.
Real rude.
And as you're an aging athlete, that's way different than what maybe when you began, and so I'm seeing that as it changes for myself, and it's a different kind of thing. I mean, I heard a guy, Steve Maxwell, and he's an old jiu-jitsu black belt, kettlebell coach, sold all his shit. He travels around the world and is on a different continent every week with a backpack, and that's all he owns. And he's, I don't know, 60 years old or whatever. And he's like, if there's a coach that's 22, fucking save it. You just haven't lived enough in order for you to be helpful to me. You have no idea.
And they're 22.
Right.
You know what your metabolism is like at 22 if you've been some sort of an athlete?
Yeah, you can have all the donuts, apparently.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you can eat whatever you want mostly, but you're going to be the fittest person in the world with diabetes.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and we see that too. It's not just obesity. Diabetes happens to skinny people.
Well, yeah, anytime I see people, I mean, we're so much more educated now than we were 10 years ago, 15, 30 years ago. And when you still see people drinking soda and smoking cigarettes and doing, you're like, what, do you live in like a time warp or something? What's the matter with it?
I get it. But it's the same thing. Like what I tell people. I mean, everybody. It's not a political thing, but like everybody has a feeling about what happened in the latest presidential election.
Yeah.
And everybody's on this side or that side, and if you're for this, you're against that, and everybody only knows how to be a contrarian. It seems like. On my Facebook feed. Maybe yours is different, but everybody only says what they're for by saying what they're against. And the thing isn't about who wins or who doesn't, but the thing is about why is there such a fracture in our country, and what is it that pushes somebody towards this or towards that, and this separation. And the same thing with food, I think, is because what are we eating towards, and why do I feel so disconnected that a cigarette seems like a good idea, and how do I get myself back to a wholeness and a oneness of love that can speak to a higher self?
Well, you know what, and it goes back to everything. It's like what you said about The Rock. If you're not trying to make yourself better, I truly feel, and that's what I love about the fitness space, we're always told you have to choose a side. You have to choose a journey, but you don't necessarily need to stay there. You could be ambiguous about it. You could do what you want with it. And if everybody's trying to make themselves a little bit better, and that's what I love about this space, everybody will progress. And that's why I think the fitness industry, especially this space, has moved forward so rapidly, because I think everybody's on their own personal journey trying to make themselves a little bit better. And when you have everybody working together, it's a lot better than everybody feeding off one. So
certainly, yeah.
But just being around people like, I would say you and Crystal, everyone's a motivator these days, right? Everybody can throw shit on their Facebook wall and be like, do this, do that. And then there's people who
everybody also wants to be a brand.
Yeah. And then there's people who actually live what they post. Like you, I love following you on Facebook and Instagram because all your shit isn't just like brutally honest and positive, but it's like reality that people need to see. The whole sugar thing, like everything. I just love following you because it's such like a punch in the face of like a positive reality, and that's fucking amazing.
Yeah, I love following you too. You're one of the very few people that I obsessively watch every single day, and I just love it because you're unapologetically you, and that's one thing that I try and embrace. And I'm like, look, you can't apologize for knowing what you know, going through what you've gone through, and being like, you know what? It's not okay to have donuts every day just because you work out.
Yeah.
And you really educate, inspire, and entertain. And I love following
Thanks,
you.
man.
Tait, it's been awesome having you on the show. I really
great to
appreciate
be
you
here,
coming
man.
on. Man.
I'm honored.
Thanks so
I'm
much.
honored that you
Christmas,
guys
as
wanted-
always, thank you for coming on. Where could everybody catch both you guys? You have a new book coming out. We'll get to that in a little bit. But where can everybody find you who already doesn't follow
It's
you?
easy to find me at Tait Fletcher. My name's Tait is how you spell it, and or cavemancoffee.com is one of our companies. If you're in Texas, we got some great nightclubs called Concrete Cowboy in Dallas, Houston, Austin.
Cool.
Yeah, my gym is Undisputed Fitness.
What's your bar in
Santa Fe, New
Austin? I'm
Mexico.
going to be down there soon.
Concrete Cowboy and Clutch.
I'll be out there.
Both of those, yeah.
I might have to check that
Yeah.
out. Guys, if you're in the Austin area or Dallas.
Or Dallas or Houston.
Cool.
And we'll be opening in Chicago in a few months.
Awesome. It's been an honor having you on here,
Man,
brother.
it's a real
Thank
pleasure.
you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you,
Thank
Christmas.
you.
We'll
Thank
be
you,
back
guys.
with some other interviews in just a little bit.